All right, looks like we got a chair. It's a senior project for engineering school. Let's see how this turns out. Mm-hmm.
ठीक है बना
Good job. He's proud of himself. All right, come on. One, two. Wait. Oh,
Feet down, man.
scared of that last step, huh? She got a little bit bigger wood, but you know it did the job. Probably should put a little sticker on the top there. It's like not a step, but other than that, not bad, not bad. He's like, nope, nope. I'm gonna stop. I'm not gonna go all the way up. All right, looks like we got a little canal, or not a canal, cutting the pavement. Usually cut a pavement, put a wire pipe through.
Nice trench.
You got a crane right there. Let's see what happens. Oh my, that's a big boy.
That's what she said.
Not that big. You see how long that was? Yeah. That's huge. That was a big boy. I didn't know they got that big. That had to be what, 40 feet, 50 feet? Probably way off, but it was pretty big.
Sometimes your guys' comments really get me curious. Yes, it is a 20.
It's that comment section. You got to watch out for that comment section. It can get you and it can bite you in the butt every once in a while. Stay away.
Receptacle. I don't believe I've ever installed a 20 amp receptacle on a 15 amp circuit. However, I cannot possibly imagine how it's a fire hazard if that is the case. Most people know that you should run 12 gauge wire like this yellow coating represents on a 20 amp circuit, 14 gauge wire on a 15 amp, a 30 amp should have 10 gauge wire. But it's no problem if you run a bigger wire on a
Yep, that sounds all right. That's good. Those are about the approximate rating.
I require a dedicated 220-volt ground fault circuit interrupter.
For example, I could run a 20 gauge wire on this 15 amp breaker, and this 10 gauge wire could be on a 30 amp, but it's actually on a 20 amp. I did that to minimize voltage loss because it's pretty far away, but also if I do want to upgrade that to a 30 amp service, I can, and it won't require.
So in the National Electrical Code, they actually have a voltage drop calculator you're supposed to take into account when you're routing wire throughout. And so, yeah, if you got an extended long wire, you've got to take account for that voltage loss because it will bite you in the butt if you don't. So he's correct in doing that.
Require me to run a new wire. So electrical TikTok, correct me if I'm wrong, but if I put this 20 amp receptacle on a 15 amp breaker with a 14 gauge wire, that's not going to create a fire risk, is it? Like, I cannot imagine how. Like, if you pull more than 15 amps, you're just going to trip the breaker.
Yeah, he's right. There's no issue putting a 20 amp receptacle on a 15 amp breaker. So you have the wire, you have your receptacle, and you also have the breaker. The wire or the receptacle cannot protect itself or pull additional current or anything. It's a
Look, I'm a little slow today.
you put 40 amps, it'll conduct 40 amps through there until something blows up. If it's 80 amps, it'll conduct anything up to 80 amps till it blows up. So when you take a look at this receptacle, what really is happening is your circuit breaker is protecting the whole entire circuit. It's supposed to protect the wire because the wire cannot protect itself. So putting a 20 amp breaker with 12 gauge wire on a 15 amp receptacle isn't going to cause you any issue. It's probably what you should do. You can go with 15. Believe it or not, you can actually put a 15 amp receptacle on a 20 amp fuse. Why? Because you're distributing your load across multiple outlets, and they're assuming you're not going to pull that much current off of one.
Does looking at this laptop make you
No,
uncomfortable?
There it
this
is.
M2 slot is definitely a last-minute idea that they just
Dang
shoved
it.
in
There
wherever
it
there
is.
was room. Someone at HP either got a raise or got fired for this.
Okay, I can see it both ways. I don't think somebody got fired for it or got a raise. They were just putting there and putting everything on the board, and they were like, where can we put this? This is a good spot. It's crooked. And I'm sure it will bother my OCD. I'll be thinking about this and having nightmares all night because of this crooked MS card, but it works. You got to put it where you got to put it.
That's what she said.
Got another senior project here. Uh-oh. Oh, no. Oh. That hurts. That hurts me just watching it. You've never been there before. You work on a project and one little flame up and it breaks. I mean, I broke my Arduino the other day. And at that point, you just want to walk away. Or at least take the day off. Come back tomorrow. It doesn't feel good. Oh. No. There you go. They got back at it. Good on them. Good job, guys. I mean, it happens all the time. You think your project's done, and then just something always happens, and you got to keep going with it. Don't give up your project. Just keep going. Got another project. This time, let's check it out. We have a motor with a pulley. That's what we see so far. Right? It's rotating. Just gotta flip the switch. There it goes. You got a little speed. Yeah, oh. A little shaky there. Oh, little shaky saw blade there. I'm not sure about using that. I mean, it does what he set it out to be. I wouldn't use it. Isn't exactly stable. I mean, he can improve and fix on the design. I tell you, when you're doing your senior project for engineering, you don't have a lot of time sometimes. You got to just go with it. You'll be graded on that. I mean, I even messed up on my senior project. Did a PCB for a stereo, so I made a DIN for a car that had a screen, had a Raspberry Pi with it, and then it went and sent a signal out to an amplifier and a AM/FM receiver, and I messed up one capacitor on that thing. Still worked. Senior projects are fun for engineering.
I mean, hell, he.
So we got the USB killer here.
3, 2, 1. Oh,
That was known as the USB killer. No, like literally, it would take out any single game console, but it doesn't even stop there. But what is the purpose of this USB killer? In the beginning, people thought it was a virus going into the consoles or the PC when they entered it. Someone was risky enough to try it on the Tesla, but luckily, the Tesla did not get fried out. And why is that? Well, what the USB does is it charges its capacitor and then pretty much overloads whatever it's in. And most devices, the USB has
No.
access to...
That's not how it works. Dang it. Yeah? That looks like capacitors to me on there. A bunch of whole string array of capacitors. Let's see, it gets on your power lines. Or excuse me, not your power lines. It gets on your data lines. And it goes wherever it needs to go. Charge those capacitors on your data lines, and it will kill whatever is along the way. So it wants to return to its source. And so wherever it can get that path, the least resistance, it'll destroy that. It'll probably destroy your system chip, and you have to replace your system chip. All right, let's continue watching.
Go straight to the motherboard so that it can process it. So that current shoots right to the motherboard, frying it out. But Why would you want this? Well, there's two reasons. One, if you have sensitive information on a device and you're afraid someone's gonna take that information, just plug it in, everything's...
That's wrong. It's not going to delete your data. It's just going to...
Wrong, wrong, wrong.
It'll either blow your processor or your system on a chip. It's not going to affect your data integrity unless it's something in RAM that you didn't save, and that's probably gone.
Well, duh.
Data is still going to be there. Don't expect it to just wipe your data. It will still be there. It's a separate system.
Is gone. Second, it's used to check surge protection. Like on those outlets that have USBs, they gotta make sure that if electricity goes wrong, it doesn't start a...
Uh-oh. This is starting to hurt.
That's wrong too. 1 out of 3. It doesn't check that. So it doesn't require, USB doesn't require 1,000 freaking volts. That's not why it's there. No. Nope.
No.
1,000 volt transient's not a USB testing requirement.
Fire. What would you plug it into? Thanks for watching.
So, when you plug your USB power into the receptacle, it's the receptacles into, it's not up to the USB device. It's the UL standard of the receptacle. That's why you see everybody, all these cheap Chinese manufacturers, putting everything on USB. Why? Because as long as that plug-in for that USB connection into the wall outlet has that UL certification, it's good. If you like this video, hit a like, subscribe, and follow me on Twitter as well. I got a Twitter account. It's the Bronky Tech Twitter. There's not a lot on there so far, but hope I see you on there as well.